2. How we doing, family? It's your boy, Yo, and this is another episode of YoHoops. I go through every NBA game every day. Today's Tuesday, April 7th, and we have a 10-game NBA card. I'm going to walk you through my thoughts and let you know what sides I like, so please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and let me know your favorite game in the comment section below. Without further ado, let me get into today's games. Recap yesterday. Smaller card, but I went 2-3 on the 5 games. All 3 losses came down to the wire, so it really could have gone either way, but we did get plus money with the Magic, so not the worst outcome. I'm now 22-21 on every game played in April, 10 games today, so I'll do my best to stack some units. A lot of these games are more or less meaningless since teams are already eliminated from the playoffs, but I think I found some value in the madness. In our first matchup of the evening, we have the Chicago Bulls in DC taking on the Washington Wizards. Bulls are minus 235 on the money line, and the total is 251. Both teams are sitting a majority of their guys, but I will say it'll benefit the Wizards more to lose this one. They currently have the worst record in the league, so if they lose out, they'll have the best odds at next year's #1 pick. At the same time, I don't want to lay 6 points with the Bulls' second unit, so rather than taking a side, I'm looking at the total. I know not much defense will be played in a matchup like this, but I also don't see enough scoring on the floor to get us over a 251 total. The Bulls are without Josh Giddey and Buzelis, so do we really think Rob Dillingham and Isaac Okoro are scoring 130 points? Like I mentioned, the Wizards do play zero defense, so I'm not rushing to the window with it, but to me, this total seems high. I'm taking the Bulls and Wizards under 251 as my first selection of the evening. Up next, we have the Minnesota Timberwolves in Indiana taking on Indiana Pacers. Wolves are minus 750 on the money line, and the total is 231. To keep it short, there is no way I'm laying 12 points with the Wolves on the road. Tonight, they're without Anthony Edwards and Jaden McDaniels, and they've only won 1 of their last 5 games. I thought the Pacers were cooked once they started sitting a majority of their guys, but their bench almost looks better than their starters. Obi Toppin's out there hooping, and Quentin Jackson actually looks like a decent point guard. I would hope the Wolves win this game, but I need 12 points in my back pocket. I'm taking the Pacers plus the 12.5 as my next selection of the evening. Up next, we have the Miami Heat in Toronto taking on Toronto Raptors. Raptors are minus 120 on the money line, and the total is 240. This is a super important game for the Raptors in terms of standings. They're currently in the 6th seed in the East, but they're only a half game ahead of the Magic in the 9th seed. The Heat are also 2 games back in 10th, so a win here would shake up the conference. The big issue for me is the Raptors injury report. Emmanuel Quickley, Colin Murray-Boyles, and Mamukelashvili are all listed as questionable. Of course, there's a chance they all play, but it would be Quickley's first game back, so rest could definitely play a factor. Miami's back at full strength, and they've been dominant against the spread all season. They're now 22-16 against the spread on the road. Norman Powell's also listed as probable. They should get it done in Toronto. I'm taking the Heat plus the 1.5 as my next selection of the evening. In our next matchup, we have the Milwaukee Bucks in Brooklyn taking on Brooklyn Nets. Bucks are minus 130 on the money line, and the total is 220.5. Both teams are out of playoff contention, but a loss here would definitely benefit the Nets more. They're 2 games out of last place, so they're definitely focused on that #1 pick. What I will say is even though Brooklyn's sitting a majority of their guys, their bench is honestly used to playing banged up. We've seen guys in and out of the lineup all year, so this is honestly nothing new. I'd damn near flip a coin in terms of a side, but I'm looking at a prop. He's kind of been the leader of the Nets' second unit. I'm taking Nolan Treyarch to go over 13.5 points. He's averaging 14 over his last 5 games, but what really stands out to me is his shot attempts. The guy's getting up about 12 shots a game, so even if he hits at a 40% clip, we're cashing tonight. I'ma lock it in as my next selection of the evening. Up next, we have the Charlotte Hornets in Boston taking on Boston Celtics. Celtics are minus 200 on the money line, and the total is 220.5. This is a big test for the Hornets. We just saw this matchup in Charlotte on March 29th, and the Celtics blew them out 114-99. Charlotte did win the previous meeting in Boston, so they're now 1-1 on the season. The way I look at this matchup is the Celtics do have the best player on the floor in Jaylen Brown, but the Hornets also have the deeper team. With guys like Zion James and Kobe White coming off your bench, you have a chance to compete. If you think Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum can combine for 60, I would take the Celtics, but I see Jason Tatum having a slower night and Charlotte returning the favor in Boston. It's a tough ask, but I really like the way they're playing. I'm taking the Hornets plus a 4.5 as my next selection of the evening. Up next, we have the Utah Jazz in New Orleans taking on New Orleans Pelicans. Pelicans are minus 625 on the money line, and the total is 243. I don't see any real edge in terms of a side, but I'm looking at a prop in this one. I'm taking Jeremiah Fears to go over 15.5 points. Trey Murphy is out and DeJounte Murray is listed as questionable, so the Pels will need him to step up tonight. In his last few games, he dropped 19, 28, then 21, and he's getting up about 14 shots a game. Tanking teams are trying to build trade value for their young assets, so we should see guys like Jeremiah Fears and Nolan Trayer able to break out in these last few games. I'm gonna lock it in as my next selection of the evening. In our next matchup, we have the Sacramento Kings in Golden State taking on Golden State Warriors. Warriors are minus 1,000 on the money line, and the total is 234.5. Obviously, the Kings have been miserable all year, but I still don't know if I'm ready to lay 15 points with the Warriors. Steph was back in the lineup on Sunday, but they still lost that game, and now he's listed as questionable for this one. You've also got Guy Santos and Porzingis listed as questionable. Even against the Kings, I'd be a little shocked to see the Warriors get a blowout win here. It might just be Podziemski and Draymond. They should win this game, but I think I want 15 points in my back pocket. I'll lean to the Kings plus a 15 as my next selection of the evening. Up next, we have the Dallas Mavericks in LA taking on LA Clippers. Clippers are minus 625 on the money line, and the total is 238. This is a game where the points are warranted. The Mavs are already playing banged up and now sitting Daniel Gafford while the Clippers come into it at full strength. The injury report tells me everything I need to know, and there's no real motivation for the Mavs except, I guess, playing spoiler. For Dallas, it's adios amigos. I'm taking the Clippers laying the 11.5 as my next selection of the evening. Up next, we have the Oklahoma City Thunder in Los Angeles taking on Los Angeles Lakers. Thunder minus 1,800 on the money line, and the total is 222.5. For me, this is probably the easiest game on the board. We just saw them play in OKC last Thursday, and the Thunder won it 139-96. Sure, that game was at home, but the Lakers also had Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves in the lineup. Tonight, they'll be without Luka, AR, Marcus Smart, and potentially LeBron, who's even listed as questionable. The only guy out for the Thunder is Jalen Williams, and he's honestly been slowing them down in spots. Unfortunate situation for the Lakers, but OKC definitely smells blood in the water. I'm taking the Thunder laying the 17 as my next selection of the evening. In our next matchup, we have the Houston Rockets in Phoenix taking on Phoenix Suns. This game's a pick'em. You can find minus 110 on either side, and the total is 220.5. Off rip, this strikes me as a defensive matchup. These are two of the bottom 10 offenses in the league. The Rockets average 114.8, while the Suns average 112.9. When I consider the fact that they're also two of the top 10 defenses, I see us staying under this total. The last time we saw these two teams play was on January 5th in Houston, and the Rockets won that one 100-97, a 197 total. Guys like Amen Thompson and Jalen Green are easily going 4 for 14 from the field, and those stretches will help our case with a bunch of missed shots. I'm taking the Rockets and Suns under 220.5 as my last and final selection. And that's going to conclude today's video. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. Not my best couple days, but we're still doing what we do in April. Now 22-21, let's make sure to finish the regular season with a bang. I appreciate all the support so much. I do this every day for free, so please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It's your boy, Yo! And until the next one, I'ma catch y'all. Peace.